Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified first. Welcome to BrandFeed. In this episode, we talk to another video marketing maverick who has presented his product to people in a new and refreshing way using videos. Ultratech Cement is creating videos for people's needs, requirements, providing information for any of their construction purpose, and a lot more. It's interesting to see how a brand category has established a credible online video presence with impressive number of views and engagement online. To know how all this is getting done and how a cement brand is changing the vocabulary of video advertising in its own industry, we spoke to Mr. Ajay Dan, Joint Executive President and Marketing Head at Ultratech Cement. So let's quickly jump in. Thank you so much for being on BrandFeed. Tell us something about yourself.
Very frankly, dyed-in-the-wool marketer. Different sectors I've seen: FMCG, consumer finance, media, and now the most concrete of all things, cement.
Concrete of all,
Yeah.
okay.
I think it's an industry completely in transition, and therefore a lot of new things onto the table. One among them being online video.
How have you seen the transition going on for the past many years? Let's say print, radio, television, now online videos.
So I think some of those mediums still remain very relevant. I think print, India possibly is the only market across the world where circulation is still increasing. So India is one economy where I don't think there are things which are being pulled down. Their only overall consumption of media itself is going up. Since the time video was born, I think it's only exponentially grown. The only piece was the reach was limited. It was one way. It was only generated by, I think, fairly professionals in that case. What's gone on, I think, is twofold. Creating content as well as viewing content, that has become far more democratized. And people can view that at their at their convenience. People can get it from any source that they find credible and interesting. So that's the one side of the story. The second side of the story is the reach of this particular content has suddenly multiplied and become manifold. The genie is not locked anymore.
So could you just tell me about a few plans that you have, in terms of advertising about your brand on this new age platform?
There is a whole host of stuff that we want to talk to our consumers, and that just can't fit in a 30-second spot. Kind of content that we want to talk is in not so much in terms of buy Ultratech or buy our cement brand. Our content is more in terms of how do we enable the homemaker in terms of his homemaking journey. Core and central to anything that we do is figuring out the consumer insight.
So Mr. Ajay, you were telling me about how you got into making this series of Baat Ghar Ki. All right. Now I would want you to share some more light on how did you think of this series and this campaign, and you also mentioned something very interesting about the consumer insights. So you're basically targeting some pain points. So what went through for actually coming onto this campaign that you are now having on your YouTube channel?
When we went out and met a lot of consumers shared that there was a whole list of things that when they got onto making their homes, they got wrong. And we did a fair amount of digital work and picked out insights out of that. That was used to make content which was ratified, certified, and kind of given the added experts of our in-house technical team. And that's the advice that we're putting out to people as to these are sets of things that you should keep in mind, and that checklist is very, very critical in a very complicated and complex project, which is making a house.
The campaign that you have, Baat Ghar Ki, is where your videos are of very short duration. Is that something on purpose that you wanted to execute? Because there's even content out there with long duration videos, right?
By all means, what we understand of our country, most of this content is viewed on the small screen. You need content which is thumb-stopping. You need content which is quick, bite-sized, can be absorbed very quickly, and also be remembered on the go. So I think those are things, the message, the medium, all those things combined, put together. And in that context, therefore, I think we've created content which is fairly episodic, fairly targeted, fairly focused on the jobs that the person needs to do, and also fairly simple. We've tried to boil it down to stuff that he can both understand as well as is useful to him.
The content that you produced for this campaign, it also has a lot many languages. How is language proving out to be like a bigger weapon in terms of, for someone who wants to advertise or market their brand?
And we've got to go to the last mile to consumers to every one of the 6 million consumers who are building their homes in the country. And if these people have figured out that content absorb or consumption in the local language is the way to go, somebody must have done their homework well.
Construction in India. All right, you construct a house in one zone of India. It's very different from what you can construct in, let's say, another zone of the country.
Right.
Tell me if you're also looking at how are the different construction patterns, and on your YouTube channel, let's say, in your video campaigns, are we going to see a lot of region-based construction tips and tricks and tutorials and all that?
While cement seems to be common, I think the base aggregates and those kind of materials are very different region by region. I think there is a great need for customization, and therefore give the user the greatest amount of personalization from his point of view. This is your region, this is the soil type, this is the weather condition that your house is going to undergo, and therefore what's the best solution for you. So I think we are in this constant calibration of how to give people the best possible help, advice, products and services, so that this once in a lifetime investment is really, really worth it.
Do we also see campaigns of the similar nature, or something that you have in store that's coming up? I asked you in the beginning actually, but I think now it's the right time to actually ask you this question. So anything on the similar lines, maybe?
Possibly segment the market far more. The rural home is not the same, and neither is the versus the urban home. Regions have very different their specific idiosyncrasies. I think what we will get greater into, and what digital and online videos I think allow that, is that they allow greater amount of customization and personalization. And that's what we are aiming for, that when anybody is coming and seeking UltraTech's expertise, the advice they get is not generic advice, but stuff which is very personalized and focused.
With online videos, what has happened is that because the viewership is immense, it's huge, and also after the advent of Jio, I think the viewership has just jumped. And in this era, we have videos of all kinds, different videos of different genre, different style. How does a brand see itself to be safe, to see online videos as a safe medium of promoting themselves?
I think from our perspective, the content is fairly user focused. If that's the kind of content, then it gets targeted reasonably sharply, and also there is this community that works and shares stuff with each other, which is very focused.
I mean, your brand positioning has been about engineer's choice, right? So I mean, if I'm this one person who wants to construct a house, so maybe whosoever the architect is, I mean, I'll ask that person, just recommend whichever best you need. But is your philosophy changing from that to directly now to the consumer?
In fact, we are redoubling on that philosophy, because if I go 90% of Indian homes or homemakers are not as fortunate as you and me, that we have the expertise of an architect or engineer advising us. Now, if that access is not there, how do we make sure that the same guidance and same expertise goes across the country? So if 90-95% of people don't have access to engineers, we in fact are making the engineer's choice far more popular.
Do you really think that if you attach yourself to any, let's say, celebrity, and might not be a Bollywood celebrity, anybody for that matter, sports person, anybody, bring them in the ad, okay, your video campaigns, and then your campaigns will run on social media platforms. Do you think that gives a brand the edge?
We have the engineer who's our celebrity. I think you're always looking for a bit of a balance. You want what celebs get is instant attention and a certain catchment. and they have a fairly large social media following and so on. I think that's what they bring onto the table. What you've got to be cautious about is that they don't cloud out your message. Yet, like I said, you never say never.
I would want to know, how are social media influencers and content creators placed with your campaigns? I mean, are you willing to work with them? Do you have something in mind, as to actually have them create content for you, let's say branded content?
So people are creating or consuming a lot of content per se, and this being seamlessly woven into it, we are, I think, more than happy, and we'd be with open arms to go and work with people on that. The piece that I was saying, that the requirements are slightly simpler in our case.
Now that we are talking about this, how do you see the future of online video advertising and online video branding or online video marketing?
The US model doesn't work here, or Chinese model doesn't work here. If I was doing desktop in the US and mobile is the first screen for most people in India, you need to cater to that. If there is UC browser here, that's what works here, right? So you've got to design solutions for India, and there are many Indias in that sense of the word. So I think both in terms of reach and in terms of content, I think the genie is out of the bottle, and I think sky is the limit in that sense of the word.
Because we are people, who are into video, like we eat, sleep, breathe videos, and everything that we do revolves around videos. This is not something, the question is not related to what you're doing at Ultratech, but I would want to know your consuming habits, like how do you consume content and where do you consume content? I can be specific with my questions also,
Sure.
that you can tell me if you would like to.
So I read a fair bit, but I got into this habit of I think finding fairly interesting content on podcasts. I've become a really voracious consumer of that content. Read a lot of history, read a lot of non-fiction stuff, read a lot of fiction.
Also, another question about consuming. Do you watch Netflix?
On and off. I don't think video content is something that I personally get too much of a time on.
That's ironic, actually.
Yeah, because the demands of the job and possibly whatever time you get, you normally spend with your family. But I think we restrict too much of quote-unquote video content at home because I have young kids at home, kind of stuff. Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking to us. It was wonderful to actually have you talk about so many things that you want to know out of you. And I hope that you do more camping such, and I hope you help every person out there create better homes and safer homes. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. It was a pleasure talking.
Thank you, everybody. So this was it for this episode of Brand Feed. Make sure you like the video and give us a comment if you want to tell us anything about this video. Share this video with whosoever you wish to, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much from people at Ultratech and Saif and Viduli. Bye bye.